I'm going to take one of these patterns. Let's try this one. I'm going to drag it into here. Okay, I'm going to make this a smart object. Okay, so it lives up, I think it's here. Smart object, convert to smart object, or I can right click the bar right here and go convert to smart object. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to reduce this opacity so I can see through it. Now I'm going to go here to my edit. I'm going to get this in some semblance of, so I'm using distort of whatever you call it, perspective. So I'm going to take this. I could have shrunk it. I should have, but I won't. And then maybe, so what I tend to do here is I'll just sort of follow the perspective on the car itself or whatever I'm doing. And I got to try and get a little bit of it down here. That's probably good enough. Now, I'm going to tweak it a little bit. Hang on. Hopefully I still can. And I'm going to come in here now, go back to my edit. I'm going to go to warp, transform, warp. And I'm going to kind of give this a little bit of a wrap around this thing. So I'm going to go. I want to put the grid on here. I'm going to go 5 by 5. And it discarded my edit, so I got to do this again. So let's do a little bit there. Have it kind of climb up there a little bit. Puff around there. And then I'm going to tweak it under right here, hopefully. Yeah. And I would just keep going until I get this wrapped all around here. So it's like really tweaking around the form. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And now I'm going to go here. I want to make layer mask. I'm going to do this fairly quick, but I want you to do it better. Get my brush. Don't want this brush. I usually use a round brush for this. All this big stuff. I'm going to lower the opacity a little more. So if we do it this way, And usually I'll see where I've missed something once I get further into this. So I can, but because it's a layer mask, I can always adjust it. And then I got to go on the interior. I want to rotate it. Rotate is just R. And when you want to go back, you hit escape. And up here, I could probably take a pen tool and just do it really quick, but I'm just going to do it this way. And again, I'll probably see places that I've screwed up once I get to the other part of this. I can't tell where that ends, so I'm going to say it ends here. Yeah. Right here. Here. Okay, now let's see what else we got. Let's try that. I'm gonna pull this up and out. Now, when I go back to this original file here, right there is your smart object icon in your thumbnail view of your layer palettes. You see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to double click that little icon. And I want to take this. Well, let's do this first. Let's go back to our original thing. Let's go here. Here's our original thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise up my opacity. Then I'm going to find an overlay that makes sense, like maybe there, maybe there. Let's just try that. And we start to wrap a texture around this. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
But here's the little trick that's nice. If I'm presenting this, I'm going to want to present a lot of ideas. So I can double click this little icon, and what it does is it opens up where it stores that original information. And I can drag another one on here. Now I'm going to turn this on. Go back, and it takes all that information. It wraps the new idea around the form. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm going to.
Wait, no, I mean, wait, how did that happen again?
Okay, hang on. That's a little better overlay right there. What's okay? So when I first bring this into my environment, so I have my car, right?
Yeah.
When I first bring in that first pattern that I'm going to wrap around the car, I immediately, before I do anything to it, I turn it into a smart object. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Once I turn it into a smart object, everything I do from that moment on, it will retain that information. But when I double click that thing, it will take me back to the original pattern that I started with.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Turn the car picture into a smart object.
No, turning
Or
the
the
pattern.
texture. Oh, okay.
And then once I double click the little icon, it takes me back to that pattern. I can switch it to whatever I want.
Okay.
You could use this with costume design. You could use it with vehicles. You could use it with anything really. So let's look at this one.
So just to clarify, only the pattern picture is turned into smart object, not the car.
Yes.
Okay.
So let's double click this again. Pull this one in. Now you have to hit save. If you don't hit save in the smart object window, it won't change. And your file has to be saved and all that. So now it's this one, and I might have to come in and go, maybe there's a better overlay for this one. That's kind of cool. And also I might have to go, pull back the opacity a little bit. Sometimes it changes the color in a way that I like that. That's kind of interesting. Let's go multiply, and then I might have to pull down the opacity or whatever. Now, so I could also go I want to get a distress texture. I could get, I could do Rust, I could do all kinds of things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it looks, and then like go, you know, if I find out like right there, I screwed up. So I got to come back in here, flip my brush.
So Mike, do you have all the patterns on another like file or like a separate, like it's in a separate window, right?
When I open up the new pattern, I'm opening it
Like-
up and then I'm dragging it into my smart object window.
Yeah, but like the pattern file, like you had like 5 or 6 of them in different layers. That was
Yeah.
on a separate thing.
Yeah, it's basically whatever's on the top layer is what's going to display.
Okay.
And you can see I can come in here and tweak all these places I missed, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like it looks like I screwed this up, so let's see. No, it's not. Yeah. Now, I'm going to give you a video of a guy taking this a lot further, but it's the same idea. He's just the only different. The reason I like you watching this video is that he talks a little bit about orientation, and he talks about, because he's doing a winged vehicle, so he has to flip and mirror the pattern and all that. So I just want you to see that, somebody taking it further. Also, a lot of times, and he'll talk about this in the video I'm going to give you, you'll create a video, you'll create an image that's straight up for orientation, okay? Because if you're gonna do something complex, like in this, I don't really need it. But sometimes, let's try this. Save it. And here's the new one. It's really nice because it retains all that information that you created. Now, sometimes when you start this kind of thing, if it's going to be more complex, I'll take something, in this case, this. And I'll just use it to orient which way the pattern's laying across the object, if it's going this way and all that kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That actually looks kind of cool. This little window here, that's our smart object window. You can just close that if you want when you're not using it, because it's right here. It's just where if I double click that, that's where Photoshop stores that stuff. Okay, does that all make sense? Now, if I'm doing something where I have, let's say I'm collaging a lot, or like Ingrid's thing, she had a butterfly in it. Now, let's say that I bring this in and I'm doing my layout. And so I'm going to just make a copy. And I go, okay, I want this. I think I want to make it really small. Right there. And then I come back in later and I go, nah, I want to make it bigger. See how it's pixelated?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I first bring this in, if I just immediately go convert to smart object, then I've got flexibility because I can go, okay, I want this to be really small. And then later on, I can pump it back up. and it retains its clarity. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, here's the other thing with smart objects. Sometimes, okay, so if I take something from the desktop, but if I come in here and I go drag this in, hit enter, it created a smart object. Do you guys see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what that is, when you drag it from the desktop, for some reason, it converts it to a smart object. If you don't want it to be a smart object, there's a lot of things that when it's a smart object, you can't do, just sort of like simple, normal things, you can't do it. So just so you know, sometimes you'll be doing something really normal on your file, and you're like, why is this not working? Check that to make sure it's not a smart object. Because if you drag it from the desktop, it tends to convert it to a smart object. Okay, that way you'll know the difference. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But as a tool on its own, it's a really, really valuable tool. Okay, because I mean, you can use it 10,000 different ways and crank out a lot of work very quickly. All right.
Yes, thank you.
See you.